Okay guys, so this is just a part 2 of world history. I'm again in the park because I have nowhere to go. So I'm gonna get started with this. So if we begin with the Chinese, I guess, because since I already did Egypt, this will be easier if I go straight to the Chinese. Okay, the Chinese. So first question is, list the dynasties in order from earlier to latest. So the first dynasty was the Shang, then we have the Zhou, we have the Qin dynasty, and then we have the Han dynasty. Ooh, it's warm in here again. Okay, so then we have another question. List the legacy of each dynasty. So what do you have to know about each of these dynasties? So the first one is the Shang. What do you need to know about that? So you have to know that it was mostly farmers and that it was the first in China to use bronze. Aristocracy broke out. So aristocracy is just like the power based on lands, kind of the dynasty of rich, if you ask. It would date, that's where they made iron weapons. Taoism showed the way to be. Seismographs happened. And yeah, that's about it. So just know that bronze and farming were kind of the key things that happened. Next we have the Zhou dynasty. So this is the longest dynasty in Chinese history. Philosophy took place because of free time. Confucianism and Taoism kind of started there. The mandate of heaven took place. So the mandate of heaven, just know that that means that the ruler is chosen because he's given the power of the gods. Then we have filial piety, which is the duty of family to members to subordinate to their needs and desires to the male head of the family. So just remember that keyword because that might appear in the exam. So during the Qin dynasty, it was made for protection. The Chinese wall was built. Warring period came about, the construction of new borders. The Chinese wall is not solid, so it isn't finished until the Ming dynasty. And you know, this dynasty is all about protection. It was ran by Qin Shi Huangdi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I know I did. So he's pretty dominant with a strong army. Legalism is very important in this dynasty. Just know that. Legalism kind of breaks out during the Qin dynasty. Yeah. So the next one we have the Han dynasty, which is the last dynasty. It's not really the last one, but for the key ones, it is the last one. There are like more after that, but just focus on this. So for the Han dynasty, it was ruled by Confucianism. We had the change in jobs, civil service exam. The civil service exam, just know that's really important. It happened here because it was pretty much an exam to get a government job that you were required to pass this exam, which is composed of skills and merit. They developed paper and steel during this dynasty. What kind of religion existed during ancient China? So Confucianism, which is not a religion, it's a school of thought, whatever. But they were just polytheists. The priests made oracle bones to communicate with the forces. The Chinese believed in afterlife, believed in spirits needed to be treated well, and they believed in supernatural forces that could help the rulers' worldly affairs. Some of the religions, like Buddhism, or polytheism, either one works. So what were the oracle bones used for and how? So the oracle bones they were just, I think, these bones in which priests scratch questions asked by the rulers. The heated metals rods were stuck into the bones, causing them to crack. So the priests interpreted the shapes or the cracks as answers from the gods and recorded the answers on the bones. These are oracle bones. They just like to communicate with the gods. This will come about later on with, I believe, Greece. So don't get them confused. You have oracle bones and there's oracles. There are two different things. Just remember it. So define filial piety, where it defined it, it just means the duty of family members to subordinate their needs and desires to those of the male head of the family. It was very important in Confucianism. Explained the dynastic cycle and the characteristics of each stage. So I made this very long. I'm gonna try to make this as short as I can. So the dynastic cycle consisted of 3 phases, and it was a series of events that recur regularly, leading back to the start. So it all started with a new dynasty which claimed the mandate of heaven by restoring order, protecting the people from invaders, rebuilding infrastructure, and expanding influence and trade. After that, we had the aging dynasty, which came after it. So during the aging dynasty, They stopped providing good government and by losing control of officials. That by overtaxing population, they started allowing infrastructure to decline and treating people unfairly. Lastly was like the old dynasty, which is just a completely the last mandate of heaven, by displeasing heaven, allowing lawlessness and corruption. So it was like a whole rack of things happening at once. It was pretty much like they were unable to defend against invaders or revolts. Next question. Understand the mandate of heaven. So the mandate of heaven, you know that it's a king who was chosen to rule because of his talent and virtue by the gods. He was then responsible for ruling the people with goodness and efficiency. He was expected to rule by the Tao, which is the way. If the king failed his ruling, he could be overthrown and replaced. Yeah. So now we're gonna compare the three schools of thought: Taoism, Confucianism, and Legalism. So Taoism is just pretty much like the way to follow the will of heaven, and it's not through action but through inaction. It was ruled by Loxi. It's not Loxi. I misspelled that. I mispronounced that. I know it's pronounced differently, but anyhow, it states that nature should take the course of life and let it do everything and not interfere with nature. This is sort of the kind of meditation thing. You were like kind of chill and relaxed. You would let nature, as you're saying, do its thing, and you wouldn't mess with it or interfere with it at all. Next we have Confucianism, which they thought it was useless to speculate on spiritual questions. Rather, everyone was better off assuming there was an order in the universe. So this was entirely based on the 5 essential relationships that you needed to keep in order to do good, to do well, to be good in all of this. So these 5 relationships are parent to child, husband to wife, older sibling and younger sibling, older friend, younger friend, ruler and subject. Next we have legalism. Legalism is pretty easy to remember. Just know that this is kind of where a strong leader is required to create an orderly society. Only harsh rules can cause people to serve. So they think that all humans need to be treated really bad and very harsh for them to follow a good way of life. They think that humans are wicked and they need to be disciplined by creating strict, harsh rules to abide by. Else, punishment will strike you. So next we have, what is the significance of the Silk Road? The Silk Road is something important you should know for sure. So this is just like, this was the route between the Roman Empire and China. It was called silk because it was the most valuable product that was exported and imported. So just know that. Well, that was some Chinese history. Thank you so much for watching.